Welcome back to Hacker Slacker, your source for tech news. I'm your host, Jacob Petticord, along with your other hosts,
Andre Garive.
and we're going to get right into it this week with the news. So, first, Facebook launched a new, basically, their version of the Echo Show. It's their first in-home voice assistant product, and it looks a lot like the Echo Show. There's a big screen on it. It's called the Portal. And it has a camera on the front, so you can basically, its primary purpose is FaceTime or Facebook video calling other Facebook users, and it has the Amazon Alexa assistant built into it as well. So the Portal and the Portal Plus is like a much bigger version of the Echo Show. It has a giant portrait screen, so it's like really built for video calling, but it's interesting to see Facebook. I didn't expect them to be one of the companies that would get into the like home assistant market when it first started launching.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is this is their first hardware project outside of companies that they own like Oculus. This is the first actual Facebook hardware project, and it's something that already exists. This home screen, like the show and now the Google Home Hub, which we'll talk about in our main segment today. I don't know. I feel like nobody is going to say, hey, I want this sort of thing for my kitchen or my living room. And they're going to immediately think, oh, Facebook, that's where I need to get my hardware.
Yeah, you have to be like really into the Facebook ecosystem to want this thing, because I'm pretty sure the only video calling it supports is over the Facebook video calling service.
Yeah, it does support Alexa, which is interesting because then you essentially just have an Echo Show that only uses Facebook video chat, and
Yep.
I don't know anybody who uses Facebook video chat.
And you can still like play Spotify on it and a lot of the typical home assistant stuff. It's just the like hardline Facebook integration when it comes to video calling and chatting and stuff.
Yeah, what's interesting is this thing is really smart. It will follow you around the room. The camera will follow the subject of the video call, and if there are multiple people, it will keep everybody in the frame that it can. And then it also has some security features where you just tap a button and it turns off the camera and microphone, so you don't have to worry about it being always on.
Yeah, so there's a couple of interesting things that this product signals. So one is that they chose Amazon to partner with for the voice assistant. So we saw Samsung, I think last year, try to get in their own voice assistant game, and they've since launched home assistant product too, much like this. So their strategy was just to make their own assistant, Bixby, versus partnering with one of the big ones like Google or Amazon or Apple. And Facebook chose Amazon here, which I thought was interesting because of Amazon. A lot of their strategies in the past have been making their services resellable to other companies like AWS and stuff. So it seems like they're kind of starting to do that same thing with Alexa, where they're making it software that can run on your product.
Yeah. One thing that I really like is that the price of this really isn't ridiculous. It starts at $199, which is fine. Then they have the Portal Plus, which starts at $350.
Yeah, which is the really big one.
Which is pretty expensive, but if you are really engrossed in the Facebook ecosystem, I honestly can't say I know anybody who is, because Facebook doesn't have native hardware, which makes it kind of hard to truly build out your ecosystem.
Yeah.
But definitely something I would check out at Best Buy.
Yeah, we'll see if it even gets in stores, I guess. Another big thing this makes me think about is we're seeing all of these. We have Facebook even, and now Amazon and Google as well with these in-home assistants with the screen on it, and we still haven't even seen any movement towards Apple doing that themselves. They have the HomePod, which has no screen. They don't have like a home assistant that you could use to FaceTime to someone else's kitchen like all these other companies have been doing over the last year. And I really haven't seen any indication that they're trying to go in that direction either.
Yeah, I think Apple realizes that to be building smart home products, they need a really smart assistant. And I don't know if they are, but I have a feeling that they are really overhauling Siri right now, which is why we haven't seen an update in a
Yeah,
while.
there's definitely been some major talent shifting around from what I've heard in the Siri department. So I think
Yeah.
we're looking at a big changes coming down the pipeline. Hopefully.
As somebody who's really into the Apple ecosystem, I would love for Siri to get great upgrades and get closer to Amazon Alexa or Google Home.
Yeah, and our main story, the Google event today, we'll talk a lot about some of the big upgrades the Google Assistant's got, which are super cool, and a lot of it has just like made me super envious.
Absolutely. So you want to tell us about our next story?
Yeah, so the next story isn't that big of a deal to a lot of people, but Google is shutting down the consumer-facing part of Google Plus, and they're kind of gonna start focusing on making it a internal social network for companies, which I thought was an interesting pivot almost. But this came in the wave of a big security breach on the service, which is probably what prompted them just to decide, hey, we're going to stop offering this publicly and kind of shrink its scale and see if it can find the niche use case.
Yeah. Google is really good at deprecating its services.
Yeah.
They just kind of build things, and then if it doesn't work, they deprecate it. But this one is one where they kind of pushed a little further than I think they usually do.
Google Plus has been around for a long time, I feel like.
Yeah, it's been around since, 2012? I don't remember.
Yeah, probably.
But it's been around for a while. The only times I've ever used Google Plus is internally at Google. I have no use for Google Plus. I am not saddened about this at all.
I feel like it sometimes comes up in the search results when I'm looking for like answers about APIs or like programming questions, and then I'm just like disappointed that it's not a Stack Overflow result.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there might be 10 or 12 people that are upset about this, but I don't see any issue with this. I'm kind of glad that they're doing it.
Yeah.
It will allow them to focus on data security elsewhere, and just one less place for our Google data to be breached, because our Google data is where pretty much everybody has most of their online portfolio.
Yeah. There's an interesting quote from the Verge article that says they shut it down due to low use and engagement because 90% of the Google Plus user sessions lasted less than 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's a kind of thing where you click on the link and you're like, oh, this is Google Plus, never mind.
Yeah, which is, 90%, that is crazy, so definitely not competing with any other big social networks, so we'll see if they give it another swing. I'm sure they will eventually.
All right. Well, speaking of Google, let's get on to the main topic today, which was the Made by Google event that happened on Tuesday. So, Google released some new hardware, and then there are a lot of really cool software features that we can talk about. So, an overview, they released the Chromecast, the Home Hub, which is like the Amazon Echo Show or that Facebook portal that we were talking about. The Pixel Slate, which is a Chrome OS tablet, and it also has a keyboard and then a Midnight Blue Pixel pen that we'll talk about later. Those are accessories that cost more. And then, of course, the Pixel 3 and Pixel 3 XL, which I'm very excited about. I worked on Pixel 3 software throughout the summer, so I am very connected to the Pixel 3, and I knew a lot about it, and it's really cool to see what all made it into the phone and all of these awesome features. So let's start with the third generation Chromecast. Pretty much the only new thing is that it has multi-room audio support, and it has 1080p at 60 FPS instead of 720 at 60 FPS, and it's $35 as usual. It's just a Chromecast.
Yeah, I think one of the Chromecast core strengths is being the cheapest thing you can buy to get Netflix onto your dumb TV. I know I've definitely bought one in the past just for that reason.
Absolutely. I honestly, now that it's this new look Chromecast, it's no different from an older Chromecast, but I like it. I have a TV, but I usually just use my PlayStation for streaming and stuff, but I do wonder if I should get a Chromecast, just plug it in, then I can control it from my laptop. I can do a lot more with it because PlayStation Plus has a very, very awful web browser.
Yeah.
The apps are kind of funky sometimes.
Yeah,
so
all you need is Google Chrome, right? And then you can Chromecast it to
Yep.
the screen.
you just need a Chrome. So I wonder, maybe I should get like a Chromecast and a Home Mini or something like that, which really is a pretty cheap way to start a smart setup.
Yeah.
So that's the new third generation Chromecast. And then there is the Google Home Hub, which is like the Portal or the Amazon Show, Echo Show. It has Google Home built into it, and I really like this. I know some people aren't into these like screen things, but I think having just this like, it's basically a tablet, but with a limited UI, and then all the backend is powered by the Google Assistant,
Yeah.
which is a super smart assistant. In my opinion, it's the best personal assistant out there, digital assistant. It's got a nice speaker. It can just kind of tell you what's going on in your day. It uses all of your Google data, which I use Google software, so it's really useful to just kind of have that there to use.
Yeah, does it do like the video calling over Google Hangouts? Is that what it uses?
I would think so. I'm actually not completely sure there's a camera on it.
Yeah, there might not be.
So this starts at $150. There is no camera, but you can set it up to link with your Nest cams if you have Nest Home Security or a Nest doorbell or something, which is kind of nice. So if you're, say, in the kitchen and you're making food, you have friends coming over, they ring the doorbell, you can just see, hey, they're here, and you can possibly unlock your door if you have a smart lock or whatever. So it's really a great addition for a smart home. I think it's a really great start for a smart home because it's something people will be comfortable using because it's tangible. You don't have to keep asking questions, not quite knowing what it can and can't do. I know that my mom's family has an Echo and my dad's has a Google Home, and they use it mostly for music. They're both fine whenever I go to the houses. I kind of mess around with them sometimes, but there are limited possibilities, especially if you don't already have a smart home setup. But this is really nice because you can just link it with your Google account and you can get all your data. It'll give you reminders, weather, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I think that the Google Home also can pair with the Chromecast with all this multi-room audio that they're doing with all their devices, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so if you're watching a game on a Chromecast in the other room and then you walk into your kitchen to go make a snack or something, you can pair it up to play off of that audio and all that stuff, which is really neat.
Mm-hmm. So it's $149, which is a lot. The Amazon Echo shows their comparable product is $230, so it's the cheapest product in its category.
Yeah, there is no
Which is
camera,
pretty typical.
which I believe is probably why it's a little cheaper.
Yep.
I really like this, though. I think it would be a really good addition to a lot of homes, especially smart homes or beginning smart homes.
Yeah, these screened voice assistant like home products are definitely like the next wave after we just had the normal cylinders. So
I really think that's the case, and I think it's kind of creating a fusion between, you know, those smart fridges where you can kind of like surf the web,
yeah,
take your notes and stuff, and having a Google Home in your kitchen. It meshes the two really nicely.
yeah. One of the things I definitely want to see is if there's some like new types of applications that haven't been possible in the past that is possible with these always on devices that are like constantly in place in your room. I don't really feel like we've seen any super unique like new use cases for these things, but now that they're becoming pretty ubiquitous, maybe they'll start to proc up.
Yeah, I'd like to see something maybe using the always on microphone to measure ambient noise in your house or measure how many times people are coming in and out of a certain room, kind of just simple things like that. I don't know where that would lead us, but it might lead us somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, so the next product that they announced was the Pixel Slate, which is a tablet that runs on Chrome OS. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, so this, because it's running Chrome OS can also run Android apps, right?
Yes, Chrome OS can run Android apps, which is really nice. Over the summer, I used a Pixelbook, and I thought to myself, wow, this is really nice. It's kind of off-kilter because all of the weight is in the actual screen area rather than the keyboard, but it is a hard keyboard. Whereas this has an optional keyboard, albeit the optional keyboard is $200.
Oh,
it's
jeez.
very expensive.
That's like iPad Pro smart keyboard expensive.
Yeah, and then the Pixelbook pen is another $100, although it does now come in midnight blue, which is kind of cool. But I think this is probably the perfect use case for Chrome OS. I don't think Chrome OS is a feasible productivity laptop operating system. I think it's perfect for tablets because you can run those apps, but you can also run things that a computer can do because that's what Chrome OS is about. It's merging a computer and a tablet. And when you get a tablet like this, where you have a nice keyboard and you have a smart pen and all of these kind of things, I think that's the perfect use case for it. It is also very expensive itself.
Yeah.
The lowest model is $599. It has an Intel Celeron processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and 32 gigabytes of storage.
Yikes. That's very small.
Very, very small, not terribly powerful, and also $600.
I guess the whole deal about Chrome OS though is you're supposed to be keeping everything online in the cloud, all your documents and photos and everything.
So I don't think the storage
reasonable.
The storage isn't terribly much of a problem, but after using a Pixelbook over the summer, I realized that you are going to want a lot of processing power, even on a Chromebook type thing. It's not a Chromebook, it's a tablet, but it's running these pretty heavy apps. So if I were to buy one, I would probably buy an i7, even though that one starts at $1,600. It's 16 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. And then there's an M3 and an i5, which are $799 and $999 respectively. They both have 8 gigs of RAM, and then the M3 has 64 storage, and i5 has 128 storage. Like I said, I don't think the storage is much of a problem, but I really think that having one of these tablets with very low processing power is just going to upset you. Because it's very good for productivity. They have a lot of the Creative Cloud Adobe apps on there, which I think is one of the greatest use cases if you want to be editing photos on a tablet that you can take everywhere, or if you want to be marking up a document in Acrobat, something like that. I think that's a great use case for it. But those are going to take some processing power. So if you're trying to do that on a Celeron processor with 4 gigabytes of memory, it's not going to go so great.
So talk a little bit about what you used your Pixelbook for over the summer. Did you use that for developing at Google?
No, I worked on Android, so I actually had a very nice desktop computer, and I did pretty much all of my coding from there. But I do know some people who would use online IDEs to do their coding and their development from their Chromebook, which is an interesting tactic. I know there were a lot of people, because all of the version control is online and all of the IDEs can edit the version control directly. The internal tools make it really easy to code from a Chromebook.
Interesting.
I did like some sketching in Google Keep just to kind of test it out, see what you could do. It slowed down and got hot sometimes.
Jeez.
So it definitely wasn't something I would use as a power user. I use a MacBook Pro 15-inch that's close to maxed out, and I really enjoy having it because I don't have to worry about things slowing down ever.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate that there's Google Assistant on there. The UI is beautiful. Chrome OS kind of makes it nice to use your laptop. So I think Chrome OS on this tablet will be just about the perfect operating system for it.
Yeah, I actually used Chrome OS back when I was in 7th grade. So that's about
7 years ago.
7 years ago now. So my first computer ever was an Acer C7 Chromebook, and it was about $200. So that was my Christmas present. This cheap Chromebook, and I ran it on Chrome OS for a while, but eventually I wanted to start looking into programming. And what I did, because it's a Unix-based machine, so I installed Ubuntu on it, which was its own kind of fun project in and of itself. And then eventually I had it turned into a Linux laptop, and I think that's actually where I started writing my first lines of code with some Python on that $200 Chromebook. So
yeah, I think Chrome OS, is the perfect operating system. I know I've said this quite a bit, but it is the perfect operating system for a tablet, and I think they've kind of found the right use case because it's a nice mix of the mobility of Android but the power use of Windows. So when you put them together, you can really get a nice experience. That's one of my big qualms with iOS on iPads is that it is very nice as a mobile device, but sometimes I feel like I'm missing out on some aspects, like not having a terminal, especially as a programmer. If I could develop on an iPad Pro, I would immediately get an iPad Pro.
You don't even know how much time I've looked into developing on an iPad Pro. There's actually there's multiple ways to do it. Obviously, so you can do there's some pretty good SSH clients. So you can do your terminal editing if you used Vim the whole time. But you would definitely need a remote computer. You can't execute the code on the iPad, which is obviously the main limitation. But it's pretty similar to what the Chrome OS laptops have to do.
Yeah.
In terms of you can just have basically a SSH client.
Yeah.
And then from there you can do whatever kind of development you want. You're just not going to get the X forwarding where you can have whole applications running on different computers and stuff. But it's definitely feasible, and it's a niche thing, but it's pretty interesting to look into, in my opinion. I've really liked using my iPad Pro this year. I'm not really missing too much of the desktop experience when I'm using it for what I use it for, which is web browsing and note-taking in class and that sort of thing. So the split view is really all the windows I need open for those tasks, but if I was locked down to it as my only computer, obviously I'm not going to be doing my programming assignments on an iPad Pro. That would be a nightmare.
Absolutely. So similar to the iPad Pro keyboard case, the Slate keyboard is a snap-on connecting case. It is infinitely adjustable, which is kind of nice because some cases are you set it at one spot and that's what you get.
Yep.
It's $199. It's pretty expensive. I would think if I ended up getting a Pixel Slate, I would probably get the pen and the keyboard as well. But I don't think I'm going to be buying a Pixel Slate.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the Chromecast, the Home Hub, and the Pixel Slate all add to this. It's not even an Android it's not even a Pixel ecosystem. It's more of they have this Google Assistant ecosystem that is kind of building together, and it's getting very close to the point we are with the Apple ecosystem. But it works with external apps, which is really nice because I can say, oh, hey, Google, could you play this on Spotify? And it'll actually play it on Spotify, whereas Siri doesn't know what Spotify is.
Yeah, a lot of that just comes down to Google being more open with their API and letting Spotify and other companies hook into it better than Apple will.
Which I think makes it a lot nicer and easier for users, which is kind of what Google's focused on, which I like.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things I'm seeing is that if you buy the i7 Pixel Slate and the keyboard and the pen to go with it, which is I'm assuming what you would do, it would run you about $1,900 total. So you're spending almost $2,000 there on a Chrome OS tablet, which is nuts.
Yeah, you could get a MacBook Pro with an i7 and 256 gigs of storage for about that much.
Yep, no touchscreen though, so...
No touchscreen. Although I'm sure you could get a high-end Dell laptop with an i7 and even more storage and a touchscreen.
I definitely think this is more of a iPad Pro competitor, which is interesting to see them not pricing themselves down more aggressively like they do in some other markets, but I think that with their Pixel brand computers and now tablets, they've always been a bit more premium, and then they let the other manufacturers kind of price under that. So if you look at the Chromebooks, the Acer Chromebooks are cheaper versus the Pixelbook itself is actually a pretty premium product.
Yeah, I think this is a premium product that has overpriced itself because an iPad Pro that is comparable storage and even more powerful is going to be about half as much as the fully built Pixel Slate with keyboard and Pixel Pen. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how many people actually use it. Definitely something I want to try out myself.
Yeah, I would be curious to try it too. One of the things I would look for in real life is in person when you're writing on it, I would want to see what the response time between the pen and the screen is. Because that's something that the iPad Pro has really just gone nuts on, getting that response time down. Because the closer you can get it to taking 0 seconds for the line to show up on the screen when your pen touches it, the more it feels like you're actually writing on the paper. Because when you can see the line building behind the pencil, it's it really kind of just breaks the experience, almost like the immersion of writing on your tablet.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I would definitely watch out with for this, because they didn't post anything about it online, and you would have thought if they beat the iPad's response rate, they would have bragged about it. But
Yeah.
at this price, I would be surprised if they have like horrible lag and that kind of thing. So
I mean, the Pixelbook itself from last year is pretty good on response time.
Okay.
I had the Pixel Pen and the Pixelbook, and the response time's pretty good. It's not near the iPad Pro, but it's not anything where you're like, I can't use this.
yeah, I've definitely seen, like, I know someone in one of our classes uses like a Samsung tablet, and I'm writing on my iPad Pro next to him. I can see his line like half an inch behind where he's actually writing. I'm
Yeah.
like, how are you doing that? But it must just work for some people. I don't know.
All right, and now on to the big product for the day.
The main event.
The main event, the Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3 XL. So, elephant in the room, let's talk about the notch.
Yeah, that thing is thick. So not only does it have this one of the thickest notches I've seen, it also has a really big chin still, and it was really surprising to me because I don't know. Back when the Pixel 2 came out, I was like, okay, Google's really like getting to the forefront of design, competing with Apple almost on how cool they can make a phone look. And then this year comes out and it seems like they just kind of panicked and had to force a notch in there or something. Which isn't I mean, it's still a good looking phone. And I mean, I still use an iPhone 7, so I can't complain about bezels, but it is a fat notch and a pretty reasonable sized chin.
Yeah, so two things on this. First, I'm going to qualify what I'm about to say with I use an iPhone 10. I've been using it for about a year. I am totally fine with the notch, and I've gotten used to a notch. Also, I worked at Google, and I worked on this phone. So I saw it in May. And I've known about all of this for a while, and I did get to hold a Pixel 3 over the summer several times. So, honestly, when you're holding the Pixel 3, the notch is very big. The chin does not feel that big. It feels like you're holding a nice premium phone. It really does feel like you're holding the next phone. It is a flagship phone. The notch is big, but I'm fine with notches.
Yeah, I'm sure notches disappear in regular use. It's just kind of a bit of a sore thumb when you're looking at like the product images for this thing.
Yeah, I think product images have kind of made the notch seem like not as good of a thing as it is. I like the notch. I like being able to scroll down from the top right corner of my iPhone to open Control Center.
Embrace the notch.
I really do embrace the notch. I think it makes it. I really hate bezels. I'm going to say that. I hate the bezels on my iPad mini. I hate the bezels on my MacBook Pro. I hate all sorts of bezels. So the fewer bezels you can get, the better. I am excited to hear these speakers. I did not actually get to test the speakers this summer. Apparently they're like 40% louder and comparable to the Razer phone. Have you heard of the Razer phone?
Yeah, I have. They're louder than that. That was like they had the speakers on there for gaming. It's like a gaming phone.
The Razer phone speakers were about as good as I think they said the MacBook Pro I'm using, which have very nice speakers.
Geez.
And the Pixel 3, from what I've heard, those speakers are pretty close to the Razer phone.
Yeah, just yesterday I was like listening to music on my MacBook Pro thinking like, wow, this is like one of the things that you pay for when you buy like a premium product like this is to have like speakers that just sound good just in your laptop, which I mean, it's nuts to have that type of performance in the phone. And jumping like to the very end of the feature list, one of the things that those crazy speakers enable is this new Pixel Stand, which is a separate product that you can buy. It's a kind of a wireless charging dock for $79. You buy it from Google, and when you plug it in, it kind of makes your Pixel 3 go into a Google Home mode.
Yeah, I love this.
I think that is such a good idea.
I worked with a guy who basically had to figure out all the UI stuff for this.
Nice.
So I actually almost got onto this team at the end of my internship to work a little bit on it. I ended up working on something else that we'll talk about later. But I almost worked on this ambient lighting custom UI for the Pixel Stand. So I heard a lot about it. And once I saw it for the first time, I was super excited because I'm like, okay, the Pixel 3 is going to have wireless charging. It does wireless fast charging, which is super great.
Yeah, it's the fastest way to charge your Pixel 3, right?
Yeah, 15 minutes of charging gives you 7 hours of battery life.
Wow.
That's what we need.
You definitely don't even get that off like the wireless charging that comes in the regular charging that comes in the box with your iPhone.
Yeah.
I think it takes like I think someone it's like getting ridiculous now because they haven't increased the speed of the iPhone charger, but they've been increasing the battery. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure if you were to charge the iPhone 10s Plus right now with the charger that comes in it, I think someone said it takes like 7 hours to
Yeah.
fully charge, which is crazy.
So I worked on the Pixel software. So I worked with the Pixel 2 over the summer, and I would charge my Pixel 2 and my iPhone 10 from the same battery level quite a few times, and the Pixel 2 filled up much faster. So I can't imagine what the Pixel 3 will be.
Yeah.
And you do get USB-C fast charging out of the box, which is also great. So, yeah, the Pixel stand will be really nice. It's got this ambient lighting. You can turn it into like a Google Home, and with these big speakers, you can just set it down in the corner, charge your phone, and you can fill a room with sound.
And you can just say like, "Hey Google" to it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, that is the like perfect feature, like just to set your phone on your desk and be able to like. Obviously, you can already like talk to your iPhone. Like I have a stand that mine sits on, but if I'm like halfway across my tiny dorm room, it doesn't usually pick me up. So
yeah. So
I feel like I would trust Google to just me not have to yell at my phone and like hope that my iPad doesn't respond. I feel like that's the type of stuff that Google would nail.
yeah, it's really nice because say you want to have a Google Home in every room of your house, but maybe you don't want one in your bedroom because you don't want like an always on speaker or anything like that. It may just seem like a bit much for your bedroom. You just get this Pixel stand. It's cheaper than a Google Home, and you can kind of just set it down and have it on your desk or
Yeah.
on your nightstand.
Well, now it's like, why would you get your Google Home in there if your phone's charging on that thing overnight? When you wake up in the morning, you can ask your assistant whatever you need.
Absolutely.
So is there anything in the actual stand that enables this, or is it just like kind of saying like I'm in the stand mode now whenever you set it down?
Yeah, so when it connects to it, it actually knows the Pixel 3 will know that it's connected to a Pixel stand, and it will enter the custom UI, which you can set up. You can have ambient lighting in the morning, you can have dark lighting at night, you can have it just show photos throughout the day or whatever.
Yeah.
I think one of the greatest things is like the wake up mode for it, where you can just set the ambient mode, ambient lighting, so it will kind of change colors with the sunrise.
Oh yeah.
And it will be dark at night. The always on display can just show the time at a very low brightness level. I really love this product.
Yeah. The stand thing makes me wonder if it's just like some sort of NFC chip in there that puts it in that mode, and if people are gonna find ways to like, oh, I already have this wireless charging stand, let me just like buy this little chip from China and activate the Pixel
Yeah,
home mode whenever I put it on my current stand.
yeah. Speaking of chips, there is one thing I forgot to mention with the Pixel Slate, but it is also part of the Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3 XL, is their new Titan M security chip. So all of your passwords and personal data and all of that are going to be stored on a separate chip, which will make your device more secure because then it cannot be accessed remotely.
Yeah.
So if somebody accesses your device through your main chip, through your Wi-Fi or whatever, they'll have to find a way to access the security chip as well, which is much more secure. And I think that's a really good push forward in security, especially for the Pixel line.
Yeah, I think this is comparable to what Apple has, like the secure enclave stuff. So it's good to see like Google implementing like more security focused things as well.
Yeah. Two more quick software things. The digital well-being is a lot like screen time, which
Yep.
we talked about extensively in episode 19, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's there. I think that'll be really good. I think this is a good push for everybody. It's there, and that's pretty much all we need to talk about. And then flip to is you turn your phone over so the screen is down, and it just puts it on Do Not Disturb, which is really nice because there are a lot of times where I just kind of do that naturally with my phone. Is if I don't want to see notifications and I don't want myself to be checking notifications, I just turn my phone upside down. But
Yeah, that's like a behavior I already do, and one of the things that I loved about this event was there's so many of these features where it's like a lot of people could be doing this, but because Google has, I feel like, so many like smart creative people working on all these different projects, someone was just like, yeah, I want to do this flip to feature, and we'll have it in there. It'll just be a setting now in Android or in the Pixel, and you can just flip over your phone, and that thing we all already do with our phones, it'll actually happen now where it goes on Do Not Disturb.
yeah, All right, so let's talk about what might be one of the best upgrades is the camera, which is insane to say that the Pixel 2 to the Pixel 3, the best upgrade is the camera. Um, but it might be.
Yeah, I think the Pixel 2 was still sitting at the top of like most people's best camera lists.
Yeah, I haven't tried out a 10S camera yet, but I probably might compare the 10S to the Pixel 2. I definitely like the Pixel 2 more than the 10, but this Pixel 3 camera, oh my.
There were just so many like bold claims in their presentation that I am like really excited to see how it plays out,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of these things that they're great at, these smart camera features where it's not
Hmm.
necessarily like, hey, we're gonna beat everybody in hardware, because nobody wins just on like the hardware of the camera alone. A lot of these people have all the same suppliers. Google wins by like making the best software to do smart, intelligent machine learning things behind it. And you'll see
Yeah.
that in almost all of the features we're about to mention, is that it's powered by their like really good machine learning skill that they have.
Yeah, and it also keeps the price down because you don't have to pay for these expensive image processors and expensive cameras and dual camera sets because they use a single camera on the back to
Yeah,
take professional level photography. It's insane. So let's get right into these. So first is group selfies. We have on the front facing side in that notch there are actually two cameras. I really like this additional feature. You can zoom out on selfies and take wider selfies, get more people in the frame. Uh, that's really nice.
yeah. It's the wide angle lens, separate wide angle camera on your front facing. This is something I've definitely seen in other Android phones. I'm trying to think which ones, but it's definitely an interesting feature where you can see like the clear benefit of like, oh hey, like everyone always tries to cram people into selfies, but if you can just widen it out, you can capture a regular picture just like an arm's length away. So one of the downsides you always see is the fisheye lens on these wide angle cameras. Like they achieve the wider angle by like curving the lens, and sometimes that creates like distortions in the pictures. But what I would love to see is if Google's like use their machine learning to like counteract that effect and just
Yeah.
produce better looking pictures.
And then two features that are kind of similar in my mind, I'm not sure how similar they are in everybody else's, are Top Shot and Photo Booth mode. So Top Shot, when you take a photo, it is going to take more than one photo, especially if it senses that there's action going on, and it will suggest to you a better picture than you actually took, um, which I think is super cool. It will use machine learning to kind of find where the subject is smiling and most visible, and it will find the best, clearest shot for you. And then you can choose between them. iPhone has something kind of similar to this when you take um,
The burst
burst
shots,
burst
yeah.
shots.
But that's like a totally separate camera
Yeah,
mode, whereas this is just like anytime you take a picture, like if you messed up the timing, hey, we'll let you go back, which I
yeah,
think is crazy. Like this is a super smart feature.
yeah. And then another super smart feature is photo booth mode, where you can just kind of set your phone facing you, and every time you make a face or you smile or you laugh, it will take the photo. You don't need a photographer. You can get a lot more natural looking photos because it will take the photo exactly when you smile or when you make that face that you want to capture.
Yep. So there's that AI like detecting which shot's the best, detecting when you smile. This is all stuff that I mean I don't even think Apple has the capability to do if they wanted at
Yeah.
this point.
Um all right. Then we have super res zoom. I think this is one of the neatest features that they added.
Yeah, this is crazy. I have only seen like their pitch of this. I haven't like dug into the technical details of how it works, which I kind of want to do more, because what it does is it allows you to kind of do the zoom and enhance thing you see in TV shows almost, where you're getting better zoom quality without actually adding more zoom lens. And the way that they're doing it is by like detecting the tiny shakes in your hands and using that to build a better picture, like the using the lack of stabilization, like just combining all the different angles you're catching into one picture.
Yeah, so it will capture all of these different pixels, and it will build them together so it can build a higher resolution shot, even when your camera gives you a lower resolution when you're so zoomed in. It's not as great as optical zoom, but for a digital zoom, this may be one of the best.
Yeah, so it's just like they don't have to include a second zoom lens because they're going to try to solve that problem with software. And I
Exactly.
mean, the benefits of these software solutions is these features are only going to get better over time. So I could see this zoom lens, the super res zoom being like all right now, like some like technical people will probably like say, oh, I can see like it looks bad in this way and this way, like it distorts this. But then over time, you see the stuff develop to where kind of like where portrait mode is now, how like it took a year and a half, but like it looks super good. And if you can do that with like super res zoom and make like a optical zoom almost obsolete on smartphones, then like that's a huge win.
Absolutely. Then also Google Lens. It was introduced with the Pixel 2 that you could just kind of tap on objects and it will tell you what it is. Now they have some things built into it. So you just tap on certain things and it will automatically know what it is, even offline, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then it also has shopping built in. So if you see a really cool pair of shoes and you have no idea what they are, you just scan them with your camera and it will get you a link to buy those shoes, which is something you see in some sort of Orwellian
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic movie where the society has rebuilt in an age of technology.
Yeah.
It's crazy how far technology is getting us.
Yeah, I mean, talk about if Google ever makes another glasses like product again, this type of feature is something that they'll be happy that they've been building over all this time. Because when you can just look at stuff and see like, oh, like say, oh, like Google, what's the price on those shoes I'm looking at right now? Like it'll be something crazy way down the line.
Yeah. So I'm gonna skip this next feature because it is definitively my favorite feature. So first let's talk about adjustable bokeh on portrait photos. It's just like the XS, but you can also adjust what the focus is on after you've taken a portrait photo.
Yep.
Which is awesome because it's not using a second lens to decide what's in the forefront. It's using all software, so it can reprocess that photo because it only took it with one lens.
Yeah, this is a super cool feature, and I mean, it's just another step ahead on the iPhone because of the way that they're leveraging software instead of hardware.
Yeah, and I really liked that you can use the color pop mode, so it will take the subject of your portrait photo and keep it in color and then put everything else in the background in black and white.
Oh, that's sweet, yeah.
Which I thought was super cool. All right, so let's talk about my favorite feature of the new camera, which is night sight. It basically allows you to take low light photos that look like you're in full light without using a flash.
Have you tried this out?
I have not tried this out, but if it works and is truly as great as that example that they showed us, because they showed us a picture taken on a XS with no flash, unedited, and then a picture taken on the Pixel 3, no flash, unedited, and the difference was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the lady literally said you will never need a flash again. They were like, flashes are terrible, like they just make uneven lighting across your scene, like they're not that great, so now you'll never need a flash again because we'll just magically make it work with software.
Yeah.
I was like, what? It just, I don't know, this like, just, the physics of this doesn't seem possible, so it'll be interesting to see what people have to say about this mode.
Yeah, I take a lot of photos in low light, and it's kind of difficult to get the best photo.
Yeah, these cell phones have super small sensors, and a lot of times the performance is just terrible, even in, not even like dark light, just barely dim lighting. Like you can barely get a good photo, so if Google can make just those use cases better, like I'm not expecting this thing to take a perfect shot in pitch dark.
Yeah.
But if in like the dim, like inside lighting, it can take way better shots, then that's a great win for them.
Yeah. All right. So then let's talk about the new battery. It is a better battery, and it has this new feature called Adaptive Battery, which will basically allow your phone to tell you more about your usage. It knows when you use your battery more, when you use your battery, when you charge your phone, what apps take the most battery, how much time you spend on those apps. So it kind of adjusts to know when it needs to be more using the battery more. I know a lot of this because towards the tail end of my internship, I actually worked on this team.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't do any of the actual features. I did some logging stuff for them, some testing, all that kind of stuff. But I did work with this team. I got to go to a lot of their meetings, and it's really awesome to see that this is out there. And I think it's going to be one of the coolest, most useful features, and probably one of the more underrated features is that it's going to help you save battery.
Yeah, so is this the thing where it's like, oh, hey, we see that like you never even pick up your phone between like 1 in the morning and 4 in the morning, so like let's like really slow it down like as much as we can,
Yeah.
like even slower than normal standby mode.
Yeah, because it pretty much knows, oh, hey, you're not going to be using your phone here. And it will be able to warn you earlier because it knows when you use your phone, how you use your phone. So it will say you're halfway through your day and you've been using a little more than usual. It'll say, hey, your phone's going to die an hour before you normally charge this.
Oh, really?
Because of the way that you've been using your phone today.
That's awesome. So like you could be like at work, like say you don't have a charger there, which was the case for me last summer, and it's like, oh hey, you've been on your phone a lot, like you might want to stop so you can make it home, basically.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about most of these features that we mentioned, almost all of them have just been super on theme with Google's core strength, which is using super machine learning powered software to just make their hardware better.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the last feature we have here, which I think is the best feature to be added to any smartphone in the last 5 years. And I think you might agree, call screening.
Yeah, this thing is crazy. I'll let you describe this.
So back at Google I/O in May, beginning of May, we learned about Google Duplex, which basically allows you to say, hey, Google, make this call and set up an appointment. And your Google Assistant will go through a robot phone call. It doesn't sound like a robot, but it will go through a phone call, and it will use Google Assistant to actually schedule and interact with a human person. It is a full digital assistant that can schedule, and then it can make decisions for itself. If they say, hey, we don't have this appointment at 1, they'll be like, oh, hey, maybe do you have 1:30? Because also it knows your calendar. It's Google. So now, using that same kind of technology, they did the reverse, where if somebody calls you, you can answer, you can hang up. Those have been always the two options, right? Either you take the call or you don't. Well, now you can send it through this phone screening, which will have the Google Assistant say, hey, this is Andre's assistant. He can't talk right now, or some custom message like that. And it will say, but what would you like to say to him? And maybe if it's a robot call, it'll be like, you've won a free yacht. And then it will immediately put that to text on your screen, and you can just block that caller right from that screen. Or it can be, say you're in the middle of a meeting and a family member calls. Sometimes it's just because they have something to say or something bad could have happened. You don't know. Your family can call a lot. So you can say, hey, I'm in a meeting right now. What's up? And then if they say it, it will type it. And if they say, oh, hey, there's some sort of emergency going on, you can pick up the call, leave the meeting, do all that. Or if they're like, oh, just call in to say happy birthday or something, or remind you that Steve's anniversary is tomorrow, you can say, all right, and then just hang up.
Yeah, so I think one of the killer features of this is the fact that as the conversation is happening, you can see the transcription live on your phone, like what the Google Assistant is saying and then what the person's saying in response. Because there's like, about once a day I get a call about like my mortgage or my my health insurance or like my car payments, like none of which I have personally. So it's like, okay, I know this is all spam, and if I could just have my like when that call comes in, if I could press the let Google Assistant handle this button, and then just like, so while I'm in class, I really don't want to pick up my phone if I don't have to, but when I see like, oh, it's like a Nebraska number, or oh, it's a California number, it's like I'll answer it just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
So then, but if I could hit the Google Assistant button, see the transcript live, the second I see the word mortgage, I can just hang up, and then I didn't have to pick up a phone during class. I could just kind of stay focused, not let it actually interrupt me. I don't know. I really love this feature. This is like super smart.
I need this on iOS.
Yeah.
I really do, because I get calls from Nebraska area codes a lot, and I usually pick those up because sometimes it's local companies, sometimes it's a family member who I don't know the name or I don't have the number of, all that kind of stuff. I usually pick those up, but sometimes they're not right. I also no longer have a Nebraska area code, which makes it easier for me to know they're probably not misdialing the number.
Yeah.
But then if I get calls from my non-Nebraska area code, I pretty much always assume that it's a mistake. But there are a few places that maybe it could not be a mistake. So if I sent that to call screen, I could see, oh, hey, maybe my car payment or something like that went through, and they're just calling or they're checking up on me or something like that. And then, of course, like out-of-state places, maybe somewhere I applied to, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, you can even see where in a couple years, like the next wave of their Google Assistant screening thing, you could have someone like even just talk to your assistant to schedule a meeting with you and like get something on your calendar, and then you can just let the assistant handle that phone call for you. You can look when it's done and see, oh, okay, I'll like call this person back at this time or meet with them then, and it's
Yeah.
already in my calendar, already in my to-do list, everything.
It's really the best version of voicemail.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I totally agree. This thing is sweet.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. So those are all of the big features. I'm not honestly sure if my feature is going in with the Android update. It should. I'm definitely going to go to a Best Buy as soon as these phones come out, check to see if my my software ended up on there.
The main thing you were working on over the summer?
Yeah.
So, okay.
So hopefully it is. It wasn't a major feature, so obviously they didn't announce it. But
Yeah.
I definitely want to get my hands on a Pixel 3 as soon as I can.
Yeah, we'll definitely follow up if we figure that one out.
Yeah. All right. So Pixel 3, Pixel 3 XL, are they good enough to make you even think about leaving iPhone?
I mean, if the current trajectory continues and these phones just keep getting smarter and smarter and Siri just keeps getting farther and farther behind, I would definitely be very tempted to check them out.
Yeah. My thing is that the iPhone hardware is wonderful.
Yeah.
The iPhone software is fine. The Pixel hardware is good, and the Pixel software is perfect.
Yeah.
I have not ordered my 10s yet. I will be ordering it in about 2 or 3 weeks. But yesterday I had a long, hard thought on maybe I should get a Pixel.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to stick with the iPhone. I'm pretty into this ecosystem, but if somebody asked me for a phone recommendation, I would say the Pixel 3. Pixel 3 itself starts at $800, which is cheaper than a 10s. It's $100 more than a 10R, and the Pixel 3 versus the 10R, which is about what they're saying is comparable, the Pixel 3 blows it out of the water.
Has the OLED screen.
Yeah.
I mean, that they even take way better advantage of the OLED screen with their software, with the always-on stuff.
Always-on
That's not
display.
it's not a new
Yeah.
feature, but it's a huge advantage. Like, you can just, if you're, I think that always-on now playing was something they announced last year, where you can just see whatever song is playing on your phone without
Mhm.
even having to turn it on.
Yeah. So, yeah, if somebody asks, hey, I need a $700, $800 phone, I'm going to say Pixel 3. If somebody says, hey, I need a $1,000 phone, that's where I say, okay, what do you want? Because you can get a Pixel 3 XL, which is very good. It's a great phone.
Yep.
Or you could get an iPhone XS. The XS, however, is missing a lot. So if you don't care about having this beautiful hardware, or you're not immersed in the Apple ecosystem, I 100% say just go for the Pixel 3 XL. Maybe you're not into big phones. Maybe you just want the Pixel 3 itself. I personally want to get into bigger phones. I've never used a Plus or an XL version of a phone, but I definitely think the Pixel 3 XL or XS Max would be my next phone. And I think I'm going to go with the XS Max still.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely still prefer iOS to Android overall, but with all of these Google Smart Assistant features, I wish I could switch Google Assistant and Siri. Like, if I had that choice right
Yeah.
now, it wouldn't even be a thought. And it's interesting to see like how they're now starting to build their Halo effect, where they have their laptop line, they have their tablet line now.
Yeah.
Just really starting to compete with Apple.
Their ecosystem is really building, and one of the great things about the Pixel phones is that they have stock Android, but it's a little bit different. They have special features that are Pixel specific, and those features can be really great to have. Plus, stock Android works really well with Chrome OS and all of your Google Home and Assistant devices. So they're really building up this ecosystem. They released the new Wear OS. It's going to be great. I'm really excited for this Google ecosystem to build out.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things that I've always thought is these, like, if I were to buy an Android phone, I would buy a Pixel in a heartbeat. But when you look at the market share, I'm pretty sure like Galaxy still kills them in the Android market, and the Google Pixel actually still sells like relatively low.
Yeah, the Pixel is a lot less available. They're only on Verizon and then Telus. I believe that's the UK.
Yeah.
And then I think they're also in Canada now, maybe? I'm not completely sure. They may be on Bell in Canada. But they're very specific about who they work with, which I think is a good thing for consumers, but then it also limits who can get the phones. So I'm excited to see if they expand and all that kind of stuff. So I think the Pixel 3 is very clearly going to be the best Android phone in 2019.
Yeah, and I really hope that they start to gain more market share because
Yeah.
it's much more of a iPhone-y type of Android phone
Yeah.
when it gets down to it.
It really is. When you use stock Android, it makes the experience much closer to iOS. Whereas when you use the OnePlus version or the Huawei or the Samsung version of Android, it feels, in my personal opinion, it feels like you're using a phone from 2012, an Android phone from 2012, back when Android wasn't much. It was big, but and it always has been, but it wasn't what stock Android is today. Stock Android is clean, the UI is beautiful, and it's smart. And I think those are the three things that matter in an operating system for a mobile device. And I think iOS is clean and beautiful more than any other one, but I don't think it's quite as smart as Android.
Yep, and I mean this year we're seeing that smart factor just continue to expand in the Pixel line, even over the rest of Android, because a lot of these features aren't coming to all the Android phones; they're just for the Pixel.
Yeah, the feature I worked on is Pixel specific as well, so I'm very excited to see all this kind of stuff, and I really think that the Pixel is going to blow up soon. I think the way Google is building their ecosystem, they're building it in a way where you can just access everything from anywhere on any device. And that's how you make an ecosystem. That's what makes iOS and macOS work so well together. You text me the notes for the show, and then I just open them on my phone, and then they're automatically up on my laptop when I need them. I can send all my iMessages. I can FaceTime from both devices. That's really what makes this device wonderful.
Yeah, and I mean, while they're still filling those gaps, they're also building their own advantages, playing to their strengths, which is, I mean, that's what you like to see, that's what you have to do. So we'll see what the Android marketplace looks like in about 5 years, see if they can finally surpass Galaxy. I would love to see that.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's all for the Made by Google event. Anything else you've got?
That's all for me. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.
All right, thanks. See ya.